This is Financial Straight Talk with Jim Fox.
And it's Financial Straight Talk, the podcast. We are glad that you have downloaded us. Subscribe to the feed wherever you get your podcasts. And, if you can leave us a like, a rating, a review, share it with a friend, someone you love. It means a lot to us because each and every week we put this show together for you. So we're appreciative that you've joined us. And of course, to get to the star of the show, the father of financial dragons, the chief engineer of the Wheelbarrow of Wisdom. He is the president and founder of Woodadley Financial Group and Financial Straight Talk. He is the Financial Straight Talker himself, an independent financial advisor. Jim Fox. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Team Black, by the way. I just want you guys to know, if you're watching House of the Dragons, I am Team Black.
Man, so, I got
Rhaena Targaryen.
Wait, are those the greens or the
greens? Greens are Aemon and them. They kind of stole the throne, and then of course we're Team Black.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. Okay, yes, the blonde-haired folks. That's who I'm on the side for. But
there we go. Yeah, the blonde-haired folks. We're but they're all blonde, by the way. So that's kind of the downfall.
No spoilers. We're a spoiler-free zone. We're not talking about Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, whatever they call it now on today's show. We're talking a little football, which, Jim, I know you don't care anything about, but football's right around the corner, and it is the biggest show on earth. So we're going to learn some financial lessons from some NFL greats, some Hall of Famers on this list. Unfortunately, they made some rookie mistakes with their money, and Johnny Unitas starts us off with this list. Old school. He's a legendary quarterback, still very well respected. Well, he invested a huge percentage of his life savings in a company that quickly flamed out. And by the early 90s, he and his wife declared bankruptcy after falling over $3 million in debt. So, those shiny distractions, they don't. Jim, what's the lesson here?
Yeah, I'm the one I've already learned myself. I've seen not to this level, but the reality is, guys, is that if you don't have a good plan, and it's so cliche, I can't even believe I'm doing this, right? Like, we just talked about having a plan, but the reality is, if you don't have a plan, and if you really don't work through this plan, if that plan is not flexible, and you don't have, in my opinion, this is where because we've shared this on the air. I mean, 2008. 2009 nuked me, right? I was out of control. I had Range Rovers and Mercedes, and I woke up one day flat broke and lost everything, Jerry. Lost everything. And it was the greatest lesson God has ever taught me, is that all the crap that you thought mattered doesn't matter anymore. It's that simple. All the materialistic stuff. And incidentally enough, just keep in mind, Jerry, in the middle of all of that, as we're trying to recover from bankruptcy and losing everything, Michelle gets pregnant with Hunter in 2009.
Surprise!
And you know what? I remember to this day, I was trimming a tree, and she came out and told me she was pregnant. I prayed that on that ladder, holding a chainsaw, just to make me the father that my father was for me. That's all I cared about. And I made an appointment to go down to the local academy to become a game warden. I was going to become a police officer because that's what I felt I was supposed to do, because, I was getting out of this materialistic world that I was in the finance world. And the good Lord, I believe, had a different plan for me, because within a week, my business went parabolic. It shot through the roof and has never stopped. And one of my stories I share with people is because none of that materialistic stuff matters anymore to me. I mean, I like nice things, don't get me wrong.
Well, I mean, Jim, you're very humble. Let me just tell people, I mean, you have always lived you're from Rockledge, and you're just around the corner now from where you grew up. You've been here your whole life. You're raising your kids here. You made it your mission to increase financial literacy in the Space Coast. And, when I visit my buddy Jim Fox, he puts me up in a hotel because he doesn't live in a mansion.
No, yeah. I mean, we got enough room for the two kids and the dog, right? I mean, we just, and the truth is that I believe that watches and cars and all that stuff is what made you successful, because that's what the world teaches you. And what's so great about the baby boomer generation, that's pretty much that's our clients for the most part, right? What's so great about this generation is that they grew up in a world where that wasn't all that big of a deal, right? Yeah. I mean, and they've accumulated wealth.
Wasn't any Instagram back then or any MTV
correct.
Cribs.
And so don't get me wrong. There's plenty of foolish, broke baby boomers too. But our generation, my generation, the Gen Xers, and then moving down into the millennials and zennials, and dude, it's getting worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the world we live in. And from a retirement standpoint, and I really should be converting this into a story about why you should pick up the phone and call me. But to be quite honest with you, it's my show, and I don't care to do that right now. Instead, I want to speak from my heart, and hopefully some of you that are listening to this right now might be in a great financial position. And I'm sure you are if you listen to this show and you're ready for retirement, or you are retired. This isn't about you calling me. I mean, I would love for you to call me. Don't get me wrong, but I would much rather you share this part of the story and this segment of the show with your kids and your grandkids, those Gen Xers and those millennials and stuff like that. Because the reality is I was a broke kid from Rockledge. My dad was a janitor at Kennedy Middle School. My mom worked in the kitchen at Wusthof Hospital. We were poor. We were super poor. I'm talking about we had, beans or soup, beans, and cornbread, or we had gravy and toast sometimes, right? And we wouldn't go to Wendy's because that was rich people hamburgers, right? I mean, this is the way I grew up.
Yeah.
And the day that I started making money, I thought I was supposed to go out and buy things. And that was the fatal flaw that led me to the depths of my poor financial decisions. And it's worse today than it was 25, 30 years ago. Luckily, the good Lord taught me a lesson, and I'm raising my kids differently. But I need you guys to understand something and share this with your family and friends, or your kids, more importantly, is that things do not represent wealth. Things do not represent wealth. Relationships, family, experiences. Those are wealth.
And
okay,
since you mentioned the good Lord, I got to put those jewels that we store up in heaven. I mean, come on.
And the reality is that so many of us are caught up in this materialistic world. What do we drive? I let my Tesla truck go, and it cost me $1,000 non-refundable deposit because I felt like an idiot being on the air telling you guys to make good financial decisions, and I was going to pay 33% over the value of the truck out the door. So I had $1,000 because I didn't want to be a hypocrite. Do I still like the truck? Yeah, it's ugly, but God, do I love it, right? And my point is, we've all heard this in church, and I don't want to turn this into a religious show, but becoming a wise steward of your money is the most important thing you can do. And that matters when you're in retirement because you don't have the time to go and earn more money. So we've got to be a wise steward of your money in retirement. But you know what? We have a job as people who've experienced these problems to share our stories. It's embarrassing for me to get on the air as a financial advisor and tell you I made mistakes that cost my family to go into bankruptcy. But I hope by sharing these experiences with you that not only am I real to you, but more importantly, that if I can make those mistakes, knowing what I know, everybody can make those mistakes.
Yeah.
And share these stories with your kids and your grandkids because the world is after them. Debt is out there. And in church, we always heard, become a wise steward of your money, and we never understood what that meant. Here's what it means. The good Lord has given us all talent. None of us are junk. We feel like it sometimes, but none of us are junk. We have the ability to go out and accomplish amazing, wonderful things as human beings. But I want you to understand the world is filled with debt. The world is filled with evil. They're trying to pull you away from that. Stop trying to find validation in things you own. Find validation in who you are. And what matters to me most as I eat up my whole radio show today, Jerry, is that I want you guys to know that God loves you all, right? He does. And he talks about the financial side of this, but do not let this materialistic world pull you into buying things you can't afford. Don't let the fancy folks that are out there trying to sell you stuff sell you because it'll make you feel better. The car's not going to make you feel any better. Trust me, Jerry and I love cars, okay? But if you're broke, a fancy car is just not going to make you feel better. It'll make you feel better when you drive it, so you got to pay for the thing.
While you're driving it, it's fun, but as soon as you park that thing and you look back at it and you're like, oh, that payment's coming.
And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to leave it with this, and then we'll move on to a real finance show. Everyone talks about there's good debt and there's bad debt. We've heard this our whole lives. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Well, the mortgage guy's convincing you that your mortgage is a good debt. They both look and feel exactly the same when you can't make the payment. Think about that, because Jerry and I have not been able to pay our bills before. And I'm not embarrassed to say that to you because every one of you guys have listened, have struggled as well. And we want to protect and teach the younger generations. And the only way we can do that is being honest, open, and sharing that stuff with them. Guys, that's my soapbox. I'm going to get off it.
Well,
I just needed to let you know from the bottom of my heart, this is why we do what we do every single day. And when I go to work, when I do this for a living, I do this because I believe no one's educating people. No one's working and trying to help people and give them solutions. Instead, they're selling them stuff. No different than the Kirby guy knocking on the door, selling my mom and dad a $4,000 vacuum cleaner when I was a kid, but nobody came and helped my mom and dad get out of debt and save money for retirement. That's why Jerry and I do what we do every single week. And hopefully this tirade that I went on for the past 9 minutes will wake you up and go, you know what? This is the real deal, because that's what we are. We appreciate every single one of you guys that listen to our show. I apologize for going on and on and on,
well,
but
here,
we want you to know we're the real deal.
Let me jump in and get this back on the track, because there is a good ending to that story of, you had some tough times, Jim. Well, these days, Jim Fox in his, very nice, but, it's not a mansion home, Jim Fox is debt-free, and that's a good feeling.
Completely.
And so he did that a few years ago. That's a monumental milestone for him. And it's, a goal that I have as well. Now, I just got into my townhome a couple of years ago, so give me a few years and we'll get there. But let's go through a couple of other names people will recognize, NFL players who made mistakes, just for fun here. Warren Sapp, very popular around these parts. He was known as QB Killer. He was he tackled a lot of quarterbacks. He made over $80 million as an NFL player, and then was making $45,000 a month as an analyst. Well, he didn't have, I guess he had a spending plan, but he probably doesn't remember where he spent all that money. He filed for Chapter 11 with $826 in his bank account. Terrell Owens, T.O., really popular wide receiver in the NFL, very emotional guy. He made around $80 million while he was playing, but didn't manage his money right, and his net worth plummeted to $500,000, due in part to child support payments. So there's a lesson there. Use your imagination. Dan Marino, Hall of Famer, didn't get a Super Bowl with the Dolphins, but made a lot of money. He backed a digital media company that went bankrupt. He lost $14 million. And despite that, I think his CBS gig probably takes care of him. Maybe he gets some residual checks from Ace Ventura back in the day, too. I don't know. I'm not his, I don't have that much information, but those movies were pretty popular when I was a kid. Now, I do want to end on a high note, because in this list, on a high note anyways, there is an NFL player, a wide receiver, that was in the NFL at the same time as Terrell Owens. Chad Ochocinco, hospital name Chad Johnson, he was a flashy guy, and he was always, doing touchdown dances and very entertaining, but he wasn't bad with his money. In fact, he was so frugal with his money, and he brags about it now. He tells everybody, all my jewelry is fake. Nobody knows the difference. He rides in economy class when he flies around. No private jets for him. And he says his favorite restaurant is McDonald's. Now, he eats McDonald's. He's still got six-pack abs. And, he's now probably in his 40s and can still, outrun everyone we know. But it's just an example that, there are still a lot of people making really smart money decisions. And so if you want to get in touch with Jim and talk about either doing a better job with your money or just seeing if you're on track for retirement, that's what he's here for. That's what Financial Straight Talk is all about. And he makes this resource available to you at no cost, with no obligation to do business. You can come in, have a conversation, see if there's anything that you need to adjust. Maybe you just get a pat on the back and say, hey, great job. Keep on going. Maybe there's something that we can find where you need to adjust. You don't know until you sit down across the table from Jim and his team. So we encourage you to click the link in the show notes, get in touch with Jim and his team, and set up some time to come in and talk to him. Maybe we can do this just on the phone or a Zoom call, but we love to see people in the office. So click that link in the show notes, or just go on over to getfst.com. Jim, that's going to do it for this episode of Financial Straight Talk, the podcast. You can always listen to us on the radio on the weekends on WMMB, several times to choose from, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. But again, this content is here for you on demand. So go back and listen to some episodes, leave a like, leave a rating. Unless you don't like the show, then just keep your opinions to yourself. I'm just kidding. Jim, I will let you have the last word. Well, of course, we'll be back with another episode next week.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Every week, Jerry and I want to say thank you. We know that you got tons of options when it comes to getting information, and we're just honored to be one of those resources. So like you said, if there's anything we can do, don't hesitate. Reach out. Let us know. We're here to help. But on behalf of myself and the rock doctor himself, Mr. Jerry Payne, I want to thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Financial Straight Talk.
Thanks for listening to Financial Straight Talk with Jim Fox. To learn more, visit getfst.com.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Wadadley Financial Group. Wadadley Financial Group is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth LLC IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Wadadley Financial Group are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Wadadley Financial Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any government agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Wadadley Financial Group.